set, where them hands, where them holes, where them throws, you know what I'm saying?
So I asked on the martial arts community on Facebook what I think is a pretty pertinent question, and I got some pretty good answers. And here's my question: why do some think they're teachers who make up their own styles of frauds when every style that exists was made up by someone? And I got 40 comments. I don't think I'm going to read all 40, but I'm going to read quite a bit of them. Carl Lofthouse here, let me see, says it's because those that have actual combat experience know what works and what doesn't. Wannabe martial artists will not put in the work, won't spar, fight, make random claims of being better than everyone that ever lived, and the art is too deadly. The Grandmaster also shows extreme narcissistic traits, rather like, and he tried to say that I was referring to someone in particular in here. And I told him, no, I'm not. I said I noticed that like Kano Jigoro could create judo, Choi Hung Hee could create taekwondo. There's a nun whose name I can't remember, created Wing Chun. But when somebody creates something new these days, we have a problem with it. And MMA is not even new. It's Greeks. It's ancient Greeks pancration. So he counters with that these people like Kano knew traditional jujitsu, Funakoshi. I didn't mention Funakoshi, but Funakoshi had a background in Okinawan karate fighting art. He just compartmentalized it into a syllabus. So his main point is this: the people you named didn't create something out of thin air. They already had a very strong background and were qualified to create. And he says that his issue is with the seventh, eighth, and ninth degree black belts who are young, who have not put in the time, and they have no business creating. And, ironically, I bet you a lot of people felt that way about Bruce Lee, but yet nowadays we celebrate Bruce Lee as one of the greatest innovators in martial arts of all time. That's probably why Bruce Lee had to get into a lot of fights in order to prove that what he did was legitimate. But let's keep going. And this guy here, that's Charlie, a guy named Charlie Barnes, is getting on MMA. And MMA is the worst because the majority of schools are not from experienced practitioners, but are made up of some guy that got a high school wrestling, a yellow belt in karate, 3 wins in a 7-Eleven parking lot, and maybe a year BJJ. Suddenly they open the school at MMA because there's no governing body to oversee. They're almost worse because they're teaching a generation of swaggering, egotistical young men to go out and pick fights to test themselves. Now, if you want to know where I would tend to lean in this fight, I created my own style. And I consider myself to be TMA, but I have been given an MMA pass, if you call it that. I've been given an MMA pass by an MMA coach. And I politely and respectfully declined only because I've never competed in MMA. I don't have MMA coaching certification. Some people even get mad because I don't have a boxing certification if I say I cross-train my people in boxing. And I tell them I'm cross-training them in boxing. I'm not certifying them in boxing. And I did do an amateur boxing match. I have never competed in an MMA format or coached anyone specifically for that. Someone that I did coach before has competed in MMA, but he didn't. I was not his main teacher at that point. I had taught him, and then he went to someone else. So then the person that gave me the MMA pass, actually a couple of people, somebody else did too. I can't remember the guy's name. I'm not mentioning the person whose name gave me the MMA pass because no internet, I'm not going to do that because I don't want you bothering them. He said, well, you're combining styles that makes you MMA, to which I countered, everything that's out now is MMA technically, but don't tell people that. But it's true. Everything that's out now is an MMA. It's some type of mixed martial art anyway. That's how styles come to be. All right, so then someone said not to me, but to Charlie Barnes, a name user Darren Holmquist, where do you keep getting this narrative that MMA gyms are run by people that aren't experienced? That's objectively false. And then someone else chimed in, Jared Ferguson said, my first instructor created his own style. He had black belts in TKD, Kempo, and Judo. He used to clean up in TKD and karate tournaments. And then Charlie Bond said, I'm not saying all MMA gyms are bad or that the instructors don't know what they're doing. I'm stating percentage wise, it's over 70% that have no business teaching. And he says that's probably true of TMA also, but at least there's some semblance of a governing body in the traditional martial arts. Yes, a lot of traditional martial arts have governing bodies. But even me with my own style, I'm in an organization. Well, one organization that I'm in is an organization that oversees people that create their own style. So there's some kind of governing body there. I would say, in terms of MMA, if there is a governing body, I don't know. So I'm guessing here that it would be the competition circuit itself if you're claiming to be MMA. Now, he says here that MMA requires no governing body to declare yourself a teacher. You basically wake up one morning and assume you have enough training to open up your own studio and start teaching. That can really be said of any martial arts. Really, nobody can stop you from teaching. And here, this same poster, Darren Holquist, is basically saying that he's noticing, I'm not going to read the whole thing, a generation of young men who have no honor that are taking up MMA, and he says bowing up in our bars and nightclubs and picking fights or filling our courtrooms on Monday mornings. There are way too many unqualified teachers opening MMA schools. This is not a problem that's unique to MMA historically. There have always been people, we could say they tend to be young men, probably, that go out, get into fights, and try to use that as a means to test themselves in real fights outside of competition. Unless the instructor is directly telling them to do that, that's not the coach's fault. Unless that style is directly promoting that, that's not the style's fault. That's the fault of the individual, and that can happen in TMA or in MMA. But let's keep going. Now, this person here, what's his name? Brion PT, feels like nothing new has come about since GKD. Since JKD, since Jeet Kune Do. Because he said, everybody has pretty much invented anything that could be invented. Okay? And he goes through his favorite quotes from people that he feels are frauds. People who swear what they say is, too deadly for the street, I just see red, I don't train for sport. And he said those are the earmarkings of a fraud. Okay? I'm not saying I necessarily agree or disagree with that. Let's go to Lee Grenier. Now, I think this was a really good posting here. Because most people who make up systems are frauds these days. They're usually obviously some legitimate teachers who make up their own styles over time, usually branching off from and adding to an already legit style, perhaps merging their experience in more than one martial art. Many of the legit ones have also pressure tested themselves and their techniques in sparring and competition. They're just few and far between, especially in this time of McDojos for profit and narcissists trying to get attention and affirmation. So it seems to be there's a lot of reservation of people feel like if you haven't proven yourself in what they feel is signs of a legitimate environment, then you have no business making a style. Personally, I feel like if you want to make if you want to make a style, I guess you can make a style. I know what I felt I had to have before I can make a style. And I also know what I would judge people on before I would consider, me personally, what I would consider lending my ears to them if they created their own style. My personal criteria has always been at least a black belt in something from somebody else, I don't care what it is, before you make up your own thing. What I wanted for myself before I would even consider doing something that's my quote unquote my own style is black belts in complementary disciplines. But it depends upon, I think, what the focus of your style is going to be. And I looked at martial artists that I admired and I looked up to. I usually saw a black belt in one type, whether it's striking or grappling, a black belt in the opposite type. So if they had a striking, they had a grappling black belt. If they were known for grappling, they had a striking black belt. and some other training and things that would round the whole thing out. Like I'm going to mention one person. I'm not going to put his name in this. Okay. Like he is known primarily for striking and karate. Okay. Pressure points. He also has complementary, he's also got a judo black belt, and he's got a lot of exposure to a lot of other different styles. So that, and long time at it, granted, lots of championships, lots of trophies. I didn't look at that. I actually made his acquaintance and just saw that he just, God, he really knows what he's talking about. And not only that, this is an unwritten criteria I have for anybody that I evaluate. And everybody can't do this because they don't have this. I have quite a few relatives who, if they aren't martial artists themselves, they know a lot about the martial arts. And I ask them whether they know I'm asking them about it or not. Or they just automatically just seem to show up. And I ask them if they heard of this person, and they can give me a real big rundown on them. If they've heard of them or heard of who trained them, especially if we're talking about the DC area. And that can help me make up my mind right there. That's probably a Southern trait that I have. You know, my cousin said it's okay. All right, then it's okay. Everybody doesn't have that, though. So let me keep looking here. So now they're talking about McDojos. Here's a good argument from Kai Brown. Well asked, he says, because shaming another martial art is great for business, or so the 80s taught us that. Every art was created by a person, and the older the art, the less relevant its techniques are. So to be effective, you have to invent new stuff. He didn't say stuff. Either new techniques or new training methods, because no martial arts master before the 2000s had YouTube to share and compare. Sports science and medicine didn't happen until recently, and the ability to train with humans from any martial arts style you can think of is only a recent invention. There should be far more creative styles than traditional, and we are truly honoring the martial arts, in my personal opinion. And yes, I created Warrior Path Martial Arts in 2010, so I'm sympathetic to the benefits of creating your own style. I would say this is probably the comment that I agree with most. And I even take it a step further. Like some people get offended when I say, like when they're like, why haven't you gone to Asia to study? And I'm like, I shouldn't have to go to Asia and study at this point. Then they get offended. It's like, no, not that I don't want to, but I shouldn't have to, because especially where I live, we have a lot of masters and grand masters right here. We have 10th degrees right here. I should be using up the resources that are here before I go to Asia to learn, just to learn. I've learned so much here, right? I've learned all these people here. I've learned so much that now I need to go to. No, I know I haven't gotten to the point where I've learned from everybody here, and then now I need to go someplace else to learn. Especially in the age of the internet, especially in the age where we can interact with people from all over the world. No, I shouldn't have to. I should want to. I said, like, there are countries and people that I would want to visit just out of curiosity and just to have the new cultural experience and just to see where some of the stuff came from. But I have to learn? No, I have not exhausted all my stuff here. I have not, and I want to give credit to Bruce Lee, but I don't think he just came up with this. I think it's from Tao itself. Missed for seeking. I don't want to miss what's here because I'm seeking and thinking that it's all the way over there. Matter of fact, I got stuff I need to work out in here, inside of myself, that keeps me busy before I even go talk to another person. I mean, I just bought a copy of this. I haven't done a review on it yet. I just bought a copy of this. See how thick this is? See how far I've gotten? I haven't even gotten through this at this point. And then we want to talk about, no. Mm-mm. And not only that, like with what I've created, which is pretty much, like I said in another video. I mean, I'm tempted to say that I've pretty much just, we put Hapkido together, but then I've learned that not all Hapkido systems use forms, so it's still, and then some that use forms don't believe in sparring, so it's still Cecil Ryu. Anyway, I don't need to go over there when I haven't gotten to the top of this mountain yet. But that doesn't mean that I'm opposed to going over there. You understand what I'm saying? And right now, quite frankly, I got a job and I can't really take off like that. And I'd have to get my wife to sign off on it because I'm married. Tried to go to Romania. Wife was like, "Why do you want to go to Romania?" I'm not going to say to see who because I don't want to drag anybody else's name into it. Like, why do you want to go to Romania? Blah, we got bills and stuff to pay, which is true. But anyway, getting off topic. So Adam Jacob says some of them are frauds and some of them aren't. If someone wants to be fraudulent about their martial arts experience, it would be an awful lot easier to do your own system rather than under your instructor system. Saying that there are plenty of people who set up their own styles to distance themselves from fraudulent activity as well. It's a huge shame that there are any frauds in martial arts, and that's with any field. That's with any field. And Brian Watson makes the point that he imagines that every new style got called a fraud back then, and then they had to fight to prove themselves. And these days, you cannot just juke it out with people to show that you're better. But what you can do, though, if you wanted to, is compete. That's what I thought competition was for. Okay? Okay, this one by Glenn Peter Lobo was just talking about somebody who said that they had 4 hours of seminar training and wanted to make up his own style. He was a military policeman, but he felt like the guy didn't have any integrity. Okay. And this is another one that says here, like, by a Nick Carapasas. I think I said that right. Some people who make up their own style do so because they can't actually do the work to learn anything valid. I guess so. And he said these are people who claim to have black belts in 18 different martial arts and, have super secret instruction from people that you can't verify anywhere. I can agree with him on that. After about, I would say, if you got more black belts than fingers, you could be that guy, but I tend to doubt it. If you got more black belts than fingers in different styles. But a lot of times when people have super multiple black belts, the styles are kind of similar. So it is what it is. And here's something that's interesting. Now, some people make up their own styles because they just feel the need to be more powerful and can't face their own demons, or they have legitimate psych issues. Those people aren't frauds per se, they have deep-seated psychological issues. That's pretty interesting. I'm not qualified to speak on that, but I think that's an interesting point. He's got some profanity in there, and I'm not a prude. I'm just trying to keep it YouTube friendly. So I'm just going to, if you find this post on the martial arts community on Facebook, you can read what he said. All right. Someone else arguing, Jody Smith, that you don't become a master without the right training. As a seeker of mastery, we need to find out the truth in our training and know what is fundamental to martial arts. Okay, and now other people are just saying that, basically once you get to a high level, you are legitimate in creating your own style. Someone here is talking about Funakoshi again. That's Kyle Russell. He's talking about Funakoshi again. J. Rod here says that basically argues that progression and change is the nature of the martial arts. Looks like I just got a new question, a new answer. So let me scroll down here first. Okay. This guy's addressing the Kano question. So I want to go back up here. Let me see what the new answer is. Live. Please, please be something good. Please don't be something I can't. Hold on for a second. Okay. Most recent. Let's see. Judo mat. Is that the judo mat that I know? Let me see. Judo was a combination of multiple styles of jiu-jitsu. He just eliminated the techniques that rely on muscle. Good try, though. I wonder who that was. Who that was to. I don't know. Let me see. No, I'm not gonna go to the page in case it is someone. Luke Walsh says this is so true. It had to come from someone. I do understand the ridiculousness out there, though, so it's hard to make sense, be applicable, and test it. So I think we've pretty much beaten this horse to death. So it seems like people have reservations about folks creating their own styles because they want to make sure that you have enough of a background to create something new, that you have tested whatever you're claiming to be new in some type of format that's not you. And we have a lot of people who are concerned about the character of the students that you are putting out. Is it your influence and your style that's creating people who are of low character, or are you influencing people to be of high character? Now, it seems like to me that there's always going to be people that are going to take what you do and use it well, whether it's your own thing or somebody else's. They're going to do it the right way or they're going to do it the wrong way. And that is the role of the individual. So now you know, if you want to know why there are people that have reservations about folks creating new styles, a lot of people just don't want someone that they feel like isn't qualified to create a style. Now, what makes someone qualified? Honestly, that's subjective. I already said my criteria. My personal criteria for people that I've evaluated is at least a black belt in something. I don't care what it is, or the equivalent, because some styles don't have black belts. Somebody else says you could teach something. That's the best way I put it. Somebody else said that you could teach something and fly without a net, because like I said, not every style has a black belt, but the equivalent of that. Somebody else said, hey, he can run some type of combat, sport, or martial arts group, club, class, whatever. Somebody else said it on that person. Then that person put their own spin on it. And then at that point, it's just a matter of potato, tomato, tomato. And some style, I don't think every style has to be, I honestly will say, I don't even think every style has to be combat applicable. There are some people that just need to move. They just need to move. If you could get them to move without hurting themselves, you have done them and the community a world of good. So if you could get them to move and be more healthier, to get them focused on something positive, that's a win. So hopefully this post won't disappear, and hopefully this post will continue to bear fruit. But you know what I'm going to do? Since it's my post, you're going to see me do it here first. I got a feeling it's a good post right now, and there's not a lot of negativity on it. So you're going to watch me in this video. Let me see. Turn off questions feature for this post. So I think that means that nobody else can comment on it now. Let's see. No, I'm going to turn off, that's what it is. I'm going to turn off commenting. Commenting is turned off for your post. I have turned off commenting. So hopefully this post will be saved and people will get various answers as to why do some people think that teachers who make up their own styles are frauds when every style that exists these days was made up by someone. I'm paraphrasing what I wrote. Thanks for watching this video. Like, comment, subscribe. Please share it so people like to talk about the martial arts in peace. And if you want to continue talking about this topic and you don't get ignorant, please leave comments below. That's my alarm. I got to turn it off. Peace. And thank you for your time.